This is Jordan Tower with JT News. Make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe, and let's get right into the news. Okay, so Young Buck recalls the time when 50 Cent leaked the phone call where he was crying like a little baby. No, I'm just joking. He was emotional on a phone call when him and 50 Cent weren't getting along anymore because Young Buck was going on an FG Unit tour. Okay, he would go out to certain shows and say FG Unit and this, and then because he felt like that 50 wasn't totally supporting his second project because Shaw Money had parted ways from 50 Cent and G Unit, and 50 wanted everyone to get rid of Shaw as their manager, but Young Buck kept him, and he felt like he was being punished for that. So after a while, he felt like he was on his own, not getting the support, and he started saying FG Unit. Well, of course, 50 pulled back funding. And, Shaw Money eventually got Young Buck and somehow got Young Buck and 50 on the phone. And they did this phone call. I remember 50 describing this, okay, of what happened here. So Young Buck came back, they got everything back together. Everything was good again. They brought Young Buck back in the fold after that phone call. But 50 Cent recorded that phone call because I'm sure he's had multiple phone calls with Young Buck like that in the past. And Young Buck would be cool for a while, get comfortable, and then go back to his old way. He's like, F this and F that. Now, just as an example, think about this, okay? Think about this. Young Buck was on G Unit. Then he got off G Unit eventually after all this other stuff that happened. In 2009, he got off G Unit. A couple years go by. Then he comes back to 50, wants to get back on G Unit. Think about it. He got released from G Unit. He asked for a release. 50 gave him a release in 2009. 2013, he comes back. He wants to come back. 50 Cent lets him back in. Everything's good again. 50 Cent lets him back in the fold. What happens a few years later? Young Buck says F 50 Cent again, okay? I mean, fool me once, fool me twice, fool me 3 times, This is probably the millionth time Young Buck has gone against 50 Cent that we only know about 2 or 3 times, right? That's a great example of why 50 Cent probably recorded that phone call, because he said, if he gets out of line again, I'm going to show the world that he was crawling back to me just a few weeks ago, but now it's F me. And I let him back in the fold. And that's exactly what happened. He gets back over with G Unit. Everything's good again. Then Young Buck goes on another show and he says FG Unit because he gets twisted or whatever. And this is 50. Then 50 Cent releases the phone call to spank him. He publicly shows that he was being a hypocrite. And then, they have their problems. Eventually, Young Buck's able to leave. He crawls back, comes back to 50 Cent 4 or 5 years later. They redo the G Unit thing, reunion. Everything's good. Young Buck's back to making money. And then he goes against 50 Cent again. And this time, it's just like Young Buck is probably his own worst enemy. He can tell you he's the realest dude ever, but he doesn't show that in his relationships with people. I'm not saying 50 Cent's absolved from everything. He is harsh with his own children, okay? He is ruthless, okay? I don't agree with everything he does. The public disputes with his son. I don't agree with that, but that's his relationship with his son, okay? I'm just talking about as a businessman and being in G Unit and everything. He made everybody rich. He did his part as a leader. Okay, you can't hold everybody morally to this is the problem. It's called the music business. It's not called the music friendship. And I learned that the hard way too, okay? I thought these people were my friends at one point until they just did what was best for them instead of looking out for me because I looked out for them. You're not going to always get that in return, okay? Young Buck went too far above and beyond for 50, and 50 did go above and beyond for Young Buck. He helped him out of a lot of situations that we can recall, okay? He had problems with money many times, spending all his money and running out of money, okay? And 50 bailed him out. But, you can't mix the friendship and the business because it just goes south. It always does. You think that that's your friend, but it's also business at the same time. And 50 did good business. He made them all rich. Not a lot of rappers do that for their artists. I'm going to tell you that much. Moving on, we got Meek Mill. He brought up the whole water thing, Oh, I'm not giving those kids more than $20 for water. I'm not buying out all their water, because I know what they're going to do with that money. If you're so concerned about what everyone's going to do for the money, people made great comments underneath this. What do you think the strippers are doing with the money? You think they're paying? It's like, come on, man. You can't. You know what that girl's going to do with that money. Why'd you give her that money? Hey, these kids might be putting this money. Think about it. If they had enough money saved up, they might think, or why don't you give them game? Save this money up and move to the next hustle. They're out there selling water. They could be out there. They could be doing something else. They're trying to sell water. But Meek keeps defending this whole $20 water thing. He's like, I only had a black card on me. I had to get the 20 from my homie. I didn't even have more than $20. But I get back in the hood. Nobody's saying Meek doesn't give back to his hood. He does. He does. He gives out a lot of toys and stuff. I mean, that's a fact. But, Meek gets really emotional. It's like, why did you film it at the same time? You filmed yourself giving them $20. If you knew it was a low amount of money, right, and you were trying to talk to them, why did you film you giving them money like you were doing the most amazing thing ever? But you don't film yourself giving toys out. That's my thing, It's like, and this is where Akademiks kind of came in and said Meek is a fraud. I don't think Meek is a fraud. I think Meek is just pulled in a lot of different directions, man. It's emotional being in the position he's in. A lot of people double cross you, and I'm not trying to play the violin for him. I'm just saying I think that affects him because he's more emotional of a person. A lot of rappers are emotional, right? And he shows it more on social media. He's probably had a lot of friends double cross him. It's a nasty game being in entertainment, okay? People you thought had your back show you don't have your back. They all have, a lot of people have motives. It's not a great game to be in, okay? For anybody out there, okay? Friends you grew up with will turn on you. Money gets in between everything, family, everything. So he's probably just, really tainted. He's lost a lot of friends. I have too, I'm not I'm not from the trenches like Meek Mill, but I've lost a lot of friends. I knew Nip very well. I did a lot of videos with Nip. I knew a lot of people that got lost. Mike Back, bunch of people. Jacka. It's so easy to just name my Prodigy. Prodigy wasn't taken out on the streets, but he was a loss, a big loss, That's just a few. I could go on and name tons of people, that I wasn't super close with, but I still lost them, It's sad. And, that affects you. But, Akademiks called him a fraud because Meek Mill's always going at bloggers and stuff and not going at people, trying to check people, other rappers or anything for giving out a bad message. That's a good point. He gives a good point there. He's picking safe battles. But, I like Meek as a rapper a lot, man. I think he's a great rapper. I just don't like the emotional side, and he does contradict himself a lot. I wouldn't call him a hypocrite. I would call him more contradiction. That could be a hypocrite, but he contradicts himself too much, But that's it. That's just who Meek is. You just have to accept who he's going to grow as a person. In 10 years, he'll probably be a totally different person. We evolve. We evolve. Charlemagne says that it's the end of the Drake era. I don't know what you guys think. I mean, that's a given. That's of course going to happen. Is the Drake era over? I feel like it is coming to an end in a sense because, it just doesn't feel the same. It feels like he's making the same music over and over again, and that he still has the clout that he always had. But I feel like things are changing right now. I don't know if you feel that the landscape of music is changing. Will Drake fall off tomorrow? No. But a changing of guards is happening right now. Probably it's been over 10 years that Drake has just been on top, right? So I think over the next couple years, you'll see that Drake sells a little less, maybe moves out of music more into the role of a CEO and more into maybe acting and stuff. I think this is where the time where he might pivot and kind of change. I mean, we've already seen him getting behind executive producing a couple different series that are on Netflix and everything. He's getting behind different projects, and I do see that he could be changing it up a little bit. But I think the Drake era is coming to an end. It just doesn't feel the same, but that could also be because we've been at home for a year and he hasn't been able to move around and do the things that we're used to all the time. Anyways, guys, that's all I got for you right now. I'll check you guys in the next one. This is Jordan Tower with JT News. Smash that like button. I appreciate you guys so much, and I'll check you guys in the next one. Peace.